There's this strange thing that happens in so many of our cities, whether you're in Lekki or Abuja. It's this mystery that kind of unfolds every single evening. It's the story of why some neighborhoods, well, they just seem to switch off the moment the traffic finally clears. So let's dive into this really fascinating urban puzzle. I mean, you know the feeling, right? You're driving into your estate after a long day, the sun's going down, people are getting home from work, but outside it's just silent, almost eerily quiet. It's a feeling a lot of us know really well, but have you ever just stopped and asked yourself why? Why does it happen? Let's just give it a name. Let's call it the 6 p.m. silence. It's that moment when a neighborhood that might have been buzzing with cars and people during the morning rush suddenly feels like a ghost town. Let's paint an even clearer picture of what this actually looks and feels like. Yeah, look at this. The streets are basically just parking lots now. There's nobody taking a stroll, no kids playing outside, you don't hear that chatter from a corner shop. Really, the only sign of life might be that constant, low hum of generators, which, just makes the silence feel even louder. So, is this quiet just a coincidence? Or was it designed this way? Well, the truth is, the way our cities are laid out is anything but random. There is a powerful, almost invisible force at work here, a kind of blueprint that shapes the rhythm of our daily lives. And to get it, we first have to understand just how fundamental land itself is. This quote from the Nigerian academic J.A. Omotola just hits the nail on the head. Land isn't just dirt under our feet. It's the stage for absolutely everything we do. It's the foundation for our homes, our jobs, our entire society. And because it's so important, governments don't just leave it to chance. No, they have a process to manage it. And that process is called planning. You can think of it as a city's best attempt to organize itself, to decide where the houses go, where businesses can set up shop, and where we should have parks, all for the good of the whole community. But how do they actually enforce a plan like that? They do it with a tool called zoning. The easiest way to think about it is this. Planners take a map of the city and literally start drawing lines, creating different zones. This area right here, that's for living. This one is for shopping. And that one, way over there, that's for industry. It's a way to keep things neat and orderly. But what if that very tool is the cause of our 6 p.m. silence? And right there, that brings us to the main suspect in our whole investigation. Because you see, not all zoning is the same. And there's one particular type that has had this massive worldwide impact, and it often creates the exact problem we're talking about. It's called Euclidean zoning. And it's named after a town in the U.S., Euclid, Ohio, where a big court case back in 1926 sort of cemented this idea into law. Its whole philosophy is incredibly simple and incredibly strict: separation. You create districts where only one thing is allowed. So you live here, you work there, and you shop way over there. Nothing is supposed to mix. And this slide just shows you the results so clearly. Over on the left, that's the Euclidean model. Big, uniform blocks, everything looks the same. It's just for one thing, in this case, living. But on the right, it's a totally different world. A dense mix of smaller buildings, different styles, different uses, all woven together. The difference you see with your eyes is stark, and believe me, the social consequences are just as dramatic. This breakdown here is perfect. In a separated use area, you get quiet and predictability, sure, but life runs on a schedule. Everybody leaves for work around the same time, and the place just empties out. Mixed-use areas, though, they have reasons for people to be around all day, every day. That makes them walkable, spontaneous, and, this is so important, it creates what urban planners call eyes on the street. That's just the natural safety that comes from people being around, which makes the place feel so much more alive. Okay, so if Euclidean zoning is the problem, what on earth is the solution? For that, we've got to turn to one of the most important thinkers on city life ever, a woman who saw the damage this separation was causing and came up with a powerful antidote: Jane Jacobs. Back in 1961, in her legendary book, The Death and Life of Great American Cities, Jacobs argued against this rigid, top-down kind of planning. For her, a living city wasn't some neat diagram on a piece of paper. It was a complex, organic, sidewalk ballet. I love that phrase. It's this beautiful, unchoreographed dance of people coming and going for all sorts of reasons, at all hours of the day. So, how do you set the stage for this ballet? Well, Jacobs laid out 4 essential conditions. You can think of them as the 4 key ingredients in her recipe for a vibrant, living city. Let's quickly break down what they actually mean. First, and this is the big one, you have to mix uses. If a neighborhood has offices, shops, homes, and cafes all jumbled together, it creates what she called cross-use. So office workers are there during the day, residents are there in the evening, and shoppers and people going out to eat fill in all the gaps. This creates a nonstop flow of people, and it prevents that 6 p.m. shutdown.
Next up, short blocks. So instead of those huge, massive super blocks that you hate walking around, short blocks create this web of different routes. It makes you want to walk. It creates more street corners for little shops and cafes to pop up, and it naturally slows down cars, which just makes the street a much nicer place to be.
And finally, Jacob's fourth condition is density. You just need enough people and buildings packed into an area to support all this different activity. This map of Seoul's subway is a perfect way to visualize this. The city's incredible density works because it's supported by this amazing transit system. And that combination is really the engine for a vibrant 24-hour city. So, let's pull all this together. That quiet that falls over so many of our neighborhoods every evening, it's not the natural way of things. It's a choice. It's the result of a very specific way of thinking about how our cities ought to be built. So here's the main takeaway. The silence is not an accident. It's the totally predictable result of Euclidean zoning, a design philosophy that values order and separation more than it values the messy, vibrant, spontaneous interactions that make a city actually feel alive. You could say we've built places for living, but not necessarily for life. And that really just leaves us with one final thought. If we understand this recipe for a living city that Jane Jacobs gave us, mixed uses, short blocks, different buildings, and density, we can start to imagine a totally different future for our own communities. So, take a look at your own neighborhood. What do you think is the first ingredient that it's missing?